Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the fourth Startups Pitching session of the AI for Good Innovation Factory. My name is Ahmed Riyad from the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, and I have the privilege of facilitating this session today. So the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, is the United Nations specialized agency for ICTs. And we are also the organizers of the AI for Good Global Summit, alongside with XPRIZE Foundation, 36 UN agencies as partners, ACM, and co-convened with Switzerland. So the aim of the summit is to identify the most practical AI applications to advance the Sustainable Development Goals and to scale those applications to a global impact. The aim of the AI for Good Innovation Factory is to build this diverse and inclusive community of innovation to identify and scale the most innovative AI startups, scale-ups, entrepreneurs who uses artificial intelligence to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. The AI for Good Summit has gone digital, and we are moving forward with weekly online programming, allowing us to reach even more people throughout 2020. I'm glad to let you all know that our call for startups is still open on our website, aiforgood.itu.int. So please, if there's any startup listening to us right now, please apply to be in our live pitching session. During our live pitching sessions, we have a jury of experts who will be evaluating the startups based on their AI solution, sustainability and business model, and social impact in advancing Sustainable Development Goals. The top selected startups will be involved in various AI for Good Summit elements and will be presented as an outcome of the 2020 AI for Good Summit Innovation Factory Grand Finale later this year. I would like to ask all attendees as well to actually send us in the chat where they are connected from, which city, which country, and make sure that you send your message to all attendees and panelists. I will start with myself right now, sending to all attendees in Paris where I'm connecting from, which is Geneva. I see here Paris, and I'll give some time for people to, I see Munich as well. So I'll give some time for people to Bucharest to actually write the cities and countries they're connected from. And maybe I'll start with a quick kind of housekeeping rules. So, I mean, I see also India, Moscow, great diversity. So a couple of housekeeping rules. The session is very simple in terms of housekeeping rules. We have 5 startups, 4 minutes of pitch for each startups, followed by a Q&A from the judges to the startups. However, the attendees as well can ask questions through the Q&A functionality to the startups and also to the judges if they want. And it depends on the time. If we have time, we can pick a few of these questions to ask the startups or to our experts today. And after each pitch, the judges will be submitting the evaluation using a digital scorecard that has been shared with them already. So, without further ado, I would like to start today with introducing our first expert mentor, and she's Marta Tomoviska. So Marta is Director of the Public Administration Reform Team and the Advisor for ICT and Innovation in the Office of the Prime Minister of Serbia. Previously, she was Macedonian Minister of ICT and Public Administration and a C-level executive in several companies in the IT and telecommunication industry. Marta, would you please enable your video and mic so that we can see you? Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I really look forward to the pitches of the SMEs because I guess they're doing a good job. I was thinking, at the beginning, so I'm afraid that the pandemics might even somehow influence the progress of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I guess that what are they doing can accelerate and revive the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals.
No, I think this is not the case. I think we're moving forward with it, with all the ICT application and digital transformation revolution we're working actually based on right now. So maybe a quick question to you, Marta. You've always been working in the private sector and government, and you have kind of both hats, you have the experience in both hats. A lot of startups would say they find it much easier to work with the private sector entities and not with governments. So is there best practices or kind of a framework where we can make sure that governments can leverage the innovation coming from the startups? The B2G domain is really, there's a lot of potential there. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, but it is obvious, and we can all see that the GovTech industry is basically on the rise, and this has become especially important now as governments, due to the pandemics, need to rapidly accelerate their digital transformation and basically compress year worth of technological advancement into weeks or even months. So in the past few months, we have seen many hackathons and innovation calls where government were seeking ideas, bottom-up solutions and insights. And these were, of course, quick fixes, like, to solve the emerging challenges that are related to crisis. But if governments want a systemic approach, how to leverage the latest technologies, one of them being the artificial intelligence, of course, to transform public sector, to improve public service delivery to citizens, to businesses, to increase the efficiency and even the accountability and the transparency of the public sector, then they have to invest continuously in GovTech programs, maybe even establishing incubators and accelerators, and of course changing the legislation that will open the door for public sector procurement, which is based on innovation instead of the old regular procedures. On the other hand, if we think what are the benefits of the startups and the SMEs to work closely with the government, we can see that there are many benefits that are ranging from availability to work on real challenges, because we know that many startups fail because they sometimes they don't achieve product market fit. This is one thing. The second thing would be that while working with the government, it is possible to establish connections that go beyond vendor-customer relationship, because governments and startups and SMEs are seen as design partners. Then there will be a great understanding of the operating environment of the government and the regulatory landscape. And important thing, they will get access to the global market, because once a solution is adopted nationwide in one government, and government are sharing good practices and exchanging knowledge and communicating each other, especially on a regional level, let's say, then there is a good chance that that solution becomes something that will be implemented in the other countries. So the market is global. The access to the customers is maybe easier than to the private sector, and definitely there is a trend for this kind of gov-up cooperation, as if we can make a parallel to the corp-up collaboration, so governments and startups, and governments now more than ever before are ready to jump in.
That's great. Thank you for letting us know about all that. And you specifically talked about legislation and actually the idea of reform in terms of the policies to make sure that we can actually leverage their innovation in terms of service delivery and other stuff. So maybe a follow-up question, if we can keep it less than 1 minute. So I know that Serbia actually has launched a new national AI strategy. So my question would be, does it have a focus on AI innovation entrepreneurship? I mean, in terms of supporting AI startups who can really give a lot of benefits and a lot of innovation to the governments?
True. So the Serbia has adopted the AI strategy and the action plan this year. The strategy was adopted last year. And the idea is to create an environment where the AI as a technology could grow. So, and it has 5 focuses. So to promote AI in education, in science innovation, but also to create AI-based economy where the funds basically are available, capital, which is private or public, to infuse in the AI startups. Of course, there is a focus on AI adoption by the public service and the ethical use of AI. So next year, we are planning to open the AI Institute in Serbia and promote the regulatory sandbox to test solutions of AI in 4 domains that are really relevant priority areas for Serbia, such as healthcare, agriculture, transportation, and smart cities. So basically, yes, directly or indirectly through all the objectives of the AI strategy and the action plan, there is a strong focus on boosting the AI startups and SMEs.
That's great. Okay, good to know. I mean, you're going to have some of the startups here works a lot with solution that I would say that is very beneficial to government to actually adopt. So we're going to see that. Thank you very much, Marta. And we're moving forward with our next expert, Bruce Pond. So Bruce actually is a founder of Big Chain DB and Ocean Protocol, working with blockchain startups focusing on bringing data and AI together since 2013. And I mean, he previously co-founded many companies, and one of them is Eventline, which is a consulting firm, I mean, that had a lot of business with different corporates like Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and Jaguar and many others. So Bruce, thank you very much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So Bruce, maybe a lot of people would ask, I mean, what is Ocean Protocol and what is Big Chain DB? If you can give us a little bit of an idea what they're doing.
Ocean Protocol is trying to kind of underpin the data economy by allowing data to be shared while preserving privacy and giving kind of data providers the comfort to share their data. We envision a world where people are able to turn data and digital assets into something like a financial asset, especially in a world with AI, automation, and robotics, where people need to have a sense of agency and they need a way to create economic value. And so Ocean Protocol is trying to be the enabler to allow people to monetize their data, but also bring together the data haves and the data have-nots.
Okay. And I mean, since you're talking about data and you work a lot with AI startups and blockchain startups, and both types of startups mainly run on data, right? Because blockchain needs data, AI needs data. So how do you see this? Is it an opportunity because there's a lot of open data right now that they can use and create solutions, or is it a challenge because it's always hard to find the right data sets that is relevant for their models? How do you see this?
I think every startup has their own data challenge, and that's one of the things that I'm particularly interested with the pitching today. In some cases, there's a lot of open data that is available that can be used for instance, public sector challenges that just needs to be collated and brought together so that the startup can solve real problems, but using open data. But what we have as a hypothesis is that you need a combination of open data plus valuable private data that's stored in, for instance, governments where they have not been able to unlock their data, and also large enterprises where that data is very valuable, but they don't know how to share it yet, and they don't have the tools to share it, but they want to monetize it. So we think that an enabling technology that allows people to feel safe and comfortable to share their data so that this innovation can start to come is a very useful technology to bring forward.
Okay, great. I mean, we have a lot of startups today that have a lot of data, and of course, they're looking forward to monetize it even more and refine their models and business models. So thanks, Bruce, for being with us today. And I'm moving forward with Alex Chado. So Alex, actually, he spends time wearing multiple hats. I mean, beyond his role in NVIDIA and leading the go-to-market NVIDIA's cloud AI computing, he also founded Alliance for Africa's Intelligence, and he's the co-founder and board member of Alliance for AI. Thanks, Alex, for being with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ahmed. It's good to be calling in. I'm at the moment in Oakland, California. It's a bright morning here.
Oh, so it's like 6 a.m. right now there, right?
Exactly.
We appreciate it very much. So maybe, Alex, I mean, in parallel to your work in NVIDIA, you kind of started this Alliance for AI. So what is Alliance for AI, and why is it important to have it?
Very, very good question, actually. I'll start with the need for it. You see, Africans, Black people, and women around the world are greatly underrepresented in the world of artificial intelligence. And this is leading to great unfairness, bias, and unprecedented rise in socioeconomic gaps that will happen in this decade. And so Alliance for Africa's Intelligence is an alliance of Africa's key disruptive technology organizations. You see, these guys are the beacons of hope for the continent and underrepresented people around the world. Not many people, in fact, I will say over the first 100 days of the pandemic lockdowns this year, Data Science Nigeria, for instance, had over 22,000 people register for AI courses on their platform. This is a company or organization not many people know about. Zindi, which is Africa's cargo. They had another 3,000, data scientists join their platform after several hackathons that we partnered to sponsor with them. Even I have so far written about over 10 innovators around the continent who are creating solutions against the pandemic. So there's decent work in Africa AI, but the world isn't getting to hear about all this work. The players don't even know of themselves that they exist. And then none of them have the strategic plan to access the one thing that has made usable AI possible around the rest of the world. And that is the powerful compute and supercomputers to extract data and insights from all the data. So I am Nigerian, 100% Pan-African, and I deployed every single NVIDIA GPU on the American and Chinese clouds platforms today. So as co-founder of Alliance for AI, we have designed a roadmap to enable these early movers to collaborate and build serious AI solutions, and we can tell their story to the world using a platform like yours. And so I close by saying, if you want to find essential African innovators and innovations, you should search our platform, allianceforai.org. If you want to partner to provide even entry-level supercomputers that unlocks the African Einsteins or the Black American Einsteins, reach out to us.
Okay, great. I mean, feel free to even share this link on the chat for all the attendees and panelists. And maybe if I have a quick follow-up question, but let's keep it very short because of time. I mean, AI hold a great promise in creating solutions, but I mean, how can we create a proper, I would say, like business case or profitable business case to make sure that it works for the good, to tackle the global challenges rather than advertising or target ads, which is great, but also we need to use this technology to make sure that actually tackle things like poverty or, as you mentioned, pandemics. So is there kind of a quick or like a secret recipe for that?
Last year when Noah asked Mark Zuckerberg this question, Zuckerberg said the answer depended on humanity and choice. He was right. That's what it depends on right now. But I really call on all of us on the call to figure out ways to not keep this choice to just humanity, because humanity operates based on the principles of the economic models where they live. In America, we live in capitalism, and so we're going to use AI for marketing and trying to grow our companies. I call on Africans to kind of remember their history of regenerative models of running societies and how those really meant that you had to take care of your neighbor, you had to help, and you had to reduce suffering. And adopt those principles and use them as a direction on how to use this new tool, this big gun we have, which is AI and fourth industrial revolution. And so I call on folks in frontier markets and even in America to use AI for essential services like healthcare, food, agriculture to tackle food security, given that our populations are exploding, and financial inclusion, so we can have more people being able to participate in business. For now, it's a choice, and hopefully in the future, it's baked into the technology.
Great. I think we're trying to make the right choice here for AI for good to make sure it works for the proper achievement and advancing of the STEAM development goals. Thanks, Alex. And we'll move forward with our last but definitely not least expert. So it's Jijen Kim. So Jijen is a senior technical officer at UNOPS, which is the United Nations Office for Project Services. And her job interfaces between digital health innovations like deep learning, neural network, molecular diagnostics, and drones, and public health. So thanks very much, Jijen, for being with us today. And actually, it's not the first time.
No, it's the third time actually.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this also with last year. So it's a long-term relationship here with you supporting us in this innovation factory. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I knew that this week, actually, you just launched the AI4health.org, which is the kind of the first public and open access resource center for AI-powered CAD, computer-aided detection products for TB, tuberculosis, and I think other diseases, or what's that? So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, that's right. You have been very up to date with the news. This is actually one of the first few initiatives that we are having at the SelfTB partnership. Before we dive further, we're a UN entity, but with a focus on eliminating tuberculosis. With all the news around COVID nowadays, I think it's important not to forget there are other neglected disease area. If people don't know, tuberculosis is actually the leading killer in infectious disease. It kills 1.5 million people a year, whereas COVID, I think nowadays, 0.5 million up to date. So with that in mind, as our mandate to end TB and to achieve the health outcome of SDG goal, we realize there is almost impossible to achieve the goal without realizing and leverage technology power. In this case, AI is one of the areas that we are actively engaging with private sectors, with company and developer. One of the challenges we realize from a country and patient perspective is that there is a gap between technology and then the end user. The technology developer, they're really good at building a solution, but for end user, it's hard for them to understand what it's for, and so that they can then apply in their use case. We are, as a UN entity, is trying to bridge that gap by promoting the advanced technologies such as AI to be used in less privileged population, because tuberculosis affects in disproportionately most vulnerable population. This AI for Health.org platform, as you mentioned correctly, is the first public open source and independent. I like to see it as a marketplace for computer aided detection. Most of them are powered by AI nowadays. We see it really in recent years, since 2012, the number of AI company on medical diagnosis, imaging mushroomed over years. It's really hard for clinicians, for government entity to understand the technology and let alone to select the right technology to be used. With the information that are with so many fake news floating around in the internet, it's really hard for people to go to just one place to find out the accurate, most up-to-date information. This is where we see we have there is the gap, and we have a value to provide is to go between the two player and be a intermediary in between. And as I mentioned, that AI, this platform is only one, and like AI space, we're also looking at how to leveraging the data that generated from the field to further help optimize and improve any AI technologies coming from the private sectors. We're trying to build up a repository for quick benchmarking and another repository for further optimization and development.
Sounds great platform. I mean, I always come to you when it comes to AI in the healthcare sector. I mean, so it's great. Thank you very much for having for being with us today, and we're always happy to have you. And I think without further ado, we should move forward. So thanks very much for our mentors and judges. And we move forward. We can have 5 startups today. So City Beats, Hawadawa, Bori by Go to Digital, Warden Machinery, and Alaya Tech. So I think we're going to start with City Beats. If Ivan's ready, can you please enable your mic and video? Yes, we can see you.
Yeah, Matt. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming on board and for having you in the pitching today. So do you have your slides ready?
Yeah, let me show my screen.
Yes, please. You can start right now. As you know, you have the 4 minutes, and afterwards we have a Q&A. Also reminding the judges to have the digital scorecard ready. You would use it after the Q&A, I assume. So you have your 4 minutes. Please take it away.
1 second. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, if you can put it on slideshow, please.
Yeah, okay.
That works
Okay,
well,
perfect.
yeah.
So perfect, thank you. I'm Ivan Caballero, I'm the CEO and founder of CityBits, a startup founded in Barcelona 2 years ago. And CityBits is helping more than 50 companies and governments worldwide to understand what matters to people in real time so they can react faster and more efficiently. We see a world where data is increasingly exponentially. In the last 5 months, the world has exponentially increased its digitalization, like if today is 2025. This digitalization brings huge amounts of unstructured data, and it's mainly text. So the problem that we find is that not knowing late, or having biased knowledge is costing lives, time, and money. And citizens are paying the bill. So, for example, Accenture reports that an estimated impact is more than 6 trillion worldwide. And the thing is that the most extended way to understand all this text is through manual processes. CityBits is using unstructured data to scientifically identify trends faster than media, increase the coverage of surveys at a fraction of the cost, helping organizations manage emerging risk and deliver early warning on critical issues. As an example, we help with real-time information worldwide organizations like Inter-American Development Bank to make more informed decisions during this multi-phase global pandemic. Last May 22nd, we used social early warning signs to react 14 days earlier to New York Times breaking news, who was announcing hunger problems in Colombia and Venezuela neighborhoods. As a result, IDB could respond faster and more efficiently, saving lives. And how does it work? We have built and scaled a proprietary platform based on NLP and machine learning, designed to understand any type of text in any language. We collect any type of text data, process it through our pipeline, and provide answers through alerts, API, dashboard, or automated reports. And let me explain you a little bit about our capabilities. So with a pipeline of more than 8 proprietary algorithms is allowing us to be in the state of the art in categorization, clustering, intent analysis, bias detection, or geolocation from text. CityBits has been designed strictly ethically. So we define ethics under 3 pillars: privacy of the user, data bias detection, and use case applications. And we have teams totally dedicated to build on top of these 3 pillars. And let me explain how we launched a COVID Perception Observatory in 48 hours to structure and process all the internet text data of 26 countries in Latin America and Caribbean in collaboration with IDB. In a pandemic situation where social reality changes in minutes, speed with accuracy is key to respond properly. IDB asked us to provide a public real-time monitor so citizens, startups, and companies could be empowered through access to unstructured information about their local needs. We created a public monitor structuring 13 categories affecting citizens, like family, economy, health, perception of government decisions. So anyone could use this open data to create services and solutions to relieve the pains of the pandemic. The results: 5 million critical social needs detected, 11 days earlier than news media outlets, 11 data sources provided by individuals and companies, and 7 initiatives based on our open API. So in only 2 years, we have implemented more than 50 projects worldwide in collaboration with more than 25 partners like Accenture, Entity Data, or Everest. Our gender balance team of 20 people includes 8 nationalities. 60% of the members are outstanding software and data engineers with experience in the best companies worldwide. And our vision of setting a standard in creating an ethical single entry point of society data in governments and companies is being validated and recognized by industrial leaders like Entity Data, SAP, United Nations, or Twitter. So with a 2 million seed round, we have built and scaled our platform based on proprietary NLP and machine learning technology while growing a robust customer pipeline. Right now, we are raising a Series A to expand our business in Europe and Latin America and scaling the United States progressively. We are unlocking the value of unstructured data to power a responsive society. If you want to make an impact, join us with your talent, with your projects, or happy to get even your money. Happy to speak after the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Ivan, and thanks for being right on time, I would say. And if you have any questions from our experts today, just enable your video so that I know that you have questions. Any question from Bruce, from Marta? We have Marta. So
yes.
Please, Marta, go ahead.
I just want to ask Ivan if you were one of the winners of the World Summit Award back in 2015 or 16, I guess.
Yeah, we were a winner twice. So
okay.
I think it was in 2015 and 2017.
It was in Singapore, I guess. Okay, so
yeah.
I know about your product, and I can see the huge progress you have done since then. So I'm really proud of what are you doing. I don't have any other questions for the moment. Thank you. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please, Jijen, go ahead.
Thank you, Iman, for your presentation. It's really clear. I know how difficult it is to parse and structure data to come to a sense and to a clear message. I have two questions on that. One on knowing how challenge. So what the message is very much depend on the input, the quality of the data and the diversity of the data. I know in my experience that I have seen that that can be dependent on where you are estimating which country. So the historical data can be very different, and that could means in terms of scale up to multiple setting, and that ensuring high quality data access to high quantity of data may not be guaranteed in all setting. So what do you think about? That's one. That's the first question. Number two is also not really about privacy itself, because there are ways to get around with identity of the individual. But some of the social media I've seen you work with, like Twitter and Facebook, and I also work with Facebook with their data for good initiative. They open up some API for social good, but then with so many concern around access to data, and especially social media data, how do you make sure that people are not feel being exploited for the use of their data? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. Really interesting ones. Yeah, in terms of data, that's a huge thing. So we work with let's say 3 types of data. One is data that is public, that it's in the internet, like comments in news, blog posts, etc. And we collect it, we anonymize it, and then we input it into the models. Second is data through partnerships, like for example with Twitter. So we are Twitter enterprise partners. So we can collect any tweet from any moment in any place, and we collect it, anonymize it, and put it into models. And third is data which is proprietary from customers. So for example, we can work with phone call transcriptions from a government, the civic, civic attention phone call transcriptions, for example, or CRM notes. So with these 3 types, we normally find models that we can identify the bias and then normalize it to provide an accurate insight. And and if there is not enough data, sometimes we generate the data. So we create an app that immigrants can use it, and then with that data, we explain them that we are going to use this data for these models and to help, and then they are happy to provide it. Second question, we are working with, for example, with Facebook, we are in conversations right now under a concept which is called federated analytics, which is, okay, we take our technology, we put it on premise. So all Facebook data can pass through CityBits and can be structured in numbers. So it can be provided as an open data source, which is the same that we did with the Inter-American Development Bank. So any NGO or any organization can use it and then can create services and can help in any way to society. Hope I answered everything.
Great, thank you so much.
So my questions are, in terms of go-to-market, what stakeholder does your biggest buyer come from, the person paying for your service? And secondly, similar to the last question, I really love your solution, it's incredible. Oshahidi from Uganda did similar thing and they've been able to avert earthquakes because of this, right? So it's a great solution type. But I wonder, what's the worst thing you're scared of people can do with your technology? You've probably not solved it today, but how are you thinking about, what frameworks are you using to think about protecting against that thing happening in 2 to 5 years?
Okay, yeah, go to market, pretty simple. So we are a software as a service, B2B, and we normally scale through partners. We don't sell normally directly. Types of stakeholders are chief data officers in financial services and in public sector. So that means that it's national governments or multilateral organizations. This will be like our universe, which for us is more than a market segment, a total addressable market of more than 6 billion. Okay, and second, how do we see everything in 2 years? So we really see that, as I will explain, the future is coming to us. So we really believe that this type of technologies need to be very transparent. So any data needs to be entered properly, and the output of this type of technologies should be somehow bringing some value to society. So what we see, and the future that we see for CityBits in the near time, is creating automated solutions for identifying which are the initiatives that are impacting in society to the problems that we are detecting, and giving them visibility. So creating let's say a way of creating call to actions and empowering society, so people somehow can understand the problems and act towards them with suggestions of solutions. Hope that answered also.
So we have another question from Bruce. Please go ahead. Bruce, I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry. So my question is, what's your biggest challenge in finding the data you need to improve your models and to get the analytics?
Yeah. Okay. Biggest challenge, we are working in it, which is bias. When you are doing a model only based on Twitter, you will have more representation normally of men and with certain ages. So what we are doing is creating some real time that are identified, so we can normalize the model. This is one of the biggest challenges, and we are working very hard on that. Second is finding the data. When you work with vulnerable communities, for example, with limited access to internet, then sometimes we need to do surveys, and then we need to bring the surveys, put them into digital, and then we can create models that can contemplate these communities. I would say these are like the two main challenges. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ivan. I think judges are done now. We're a bit tight on time, but I see some questions coming to you, so you can actually answer this question by writing if you want in the Q&A. But I'll just pick the first one I see right now. It's for CityBits, asking, how do you filter information? What sources do you collect information from? If you would like to answer.
Okay. That. Yeah, we collect multiple data sources. So I would say we work with Twitter, for example. We work with other social networks. We work with data that we collect from internet. We work with data which is proprietary from the customer. For example, we did an amazing project in Kenya, in Swahili, processing all the CRM transcriptions from a regulator in order to help them investigate which were the lack of service to the bottom of the pyramid population. So we are working with multiple data entries.
Okay, great. And I also see some other questions maybe in the Q&A. There's actually also some for the judges asking about the African initiatives and other stuff. So please, if you guys can answer these questions, so that would be great. Thanks again, Ivan. And we're moving forward with our second actually venture today, which is Hawadawa Hawadawa. So Karim, I think you're here. Yeah, video is enabled, mic is enabled. How are you? It was good.
Everything is good. Yeah, happy to be and very inspired actually by the panelists, experts, and the other presenters. So yeah, curious.
No, thank you for being with us today. And please, share your screen and slides. As you know, the whole process, just you have the time for the pitch, and then we have a Q&A and a quick discussion, and it's all yours.
Thank you very much. So yeah, my name is Karim Taraf. I'm one of the 4 co-founders and the CEO of Hawadawa. I grew up in Cairo, a city that shows all the typical traits of an emerging economy when it comes to air quality and health. And I grew up in a family of doctors that spend their lifetime researching the intricate balance between the air we breathe and our health. So I've always grown up with understanding that air pollution or air quality is more than a number or more than a concentration number, but actually has something to do with our life quality, healthcare expenditures, and even in Europe and many parts of the world with our mobility. And the problem is that to solve this challenge, you need to have data, and the data is not there. You have a big data scarcity. At present, the systems for monitoring and gathering information are inefficient and wasteful, very expensive, and they do not provide the data in a form and in a way that you can actually apply it. And it's really very relevant. And we heard it before, actually, that cities need to learn how to leverage the data that they already collect and increase it with other forms of data layers, because the opportunity in the air quality business is there. You have increasing measurement networks, from IoT-enabled or AI-enabled measurement networks, as what you see here on the left is actually a Hawadawa sensor on top of an official measuring station. You have satellites, and Hawadawa has been chosen as one of the top 3 space tech startups on a European scale from the European Space Agency. And you also have sectors without borders. So the use case of using air quality data in the mainstream of decision-making has never been easier. Now, what Hawadawa does is we take all these different layers of data from the official measuring stations of cities to the Earth observation and atmospheric models, and increasing actually our own measurement networks to create an entire ubiquitous coverage on a global scale of air quality. And we can layer then the technology depending on the pain or the use case we have on the right side. To give you an example of what Hawadawa can do, basically, is that we have an entire coverage from every city to every harbor to every shipping lane to every factory down to the city to every street, every corner, every household. And you can really understand in every corner what happens, where, and why it happens. Even highlight traffic, includes weather data and traffic data. So using this type of technology, we are able to increase the depth and the width of coverage of air quality data and emission data. What you see here is one of the applications where we have machine learning is basically we train our nodes to behave like the most expensive ones by turning a hardware problem into a software problem, by training our nodes to behave exactly as the €1 million measuring station and achieve an almost identical accuracy. And after that, we are able to include other data sources. So we can tell you by using machine learning to predict in between sensor nodes, but also including weather and traffic data, I can tell you where the air pollution is coming from. So it's not just, by representing the data, but I can tell you, for example, in sensor 47 here, there is a source of air pollution in the southwest, because the highest values come when the wind comes from the southwest. And what you see here in the southwest, a major highway. So we give more causal links between what you measure and what you want. And here you can even add one layer higher. This is a project with the Health Ministry of Northern Ireland, where we can map the risks of individual risk groups, diabetes, asthmatic, COPD, and what they're inhaling on air pollution, and what they're exposed to on a daily basis, on a postal code level, on a street level, depending on what the customer wants. So we're bridging the gap between air pollution and mobility, air pollution and health, and even with forecasting. So ML, we all use machine learning for forecasting. We're able to change behavior. And this is a project we did with Zemus, where we've proven that 40% of more than 1,500 drivers will change their behavior if they know in advance which is the optimal route. And the more you think about it, the more applicable you'll find it, from real estate investing to shipping to smart fitness, eco-sensitive traffic management, impact bond. It's a product that we did with Munich Reinsurance. So the application of technology is exactly our vision. We want to mainstream air pollution, air quality data in the mainstream of decision-making, from how we plan our cities, manage our health, plan our traffic, and even address climate change, because 50% of climate change is caused by air pollutants that are also climate pollutants. So we address climate action. We're also talking about good health and well-being. And I mean, the pandemic is the best evidence for that. And we're talking about interconnectivity, using innovation to solve, to let our cities not avoid driving bans and become more efficient. So for every euro you invest, you get the highest ecological output. And yeah, the team is quite diverse, and from epidemiology to and basically this is the last slide of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Right on time. Thanks very much, Karim. And I think it was super informative. I was trying to follow up what you're saying in every slide. So do we have any questions from our experts today? Waiting. Yeah, Bruce is here. Please just unmute yourself.
Sure. I'm wondering, with all the data that you're collecting, are there other uses that might be helpful for other companies? Like have people come up to approach you to say, I like your suite of tools, but can I also get, just the raw data for ourselves for our own kind of purposes?
Yeah, so we're working right now on a third-party developer API, because we're not going to be the ones that develop the Asthmatic API, the Asthmatic app, or the traffic software running in the traffic central in the city. So yes, this is actually, we scale through partnerships. So the client base is 50% multilateral institutions in cities and municipalities, and the other 50% are B2B companies that use our API, use our data to leverage their own solutions for end customers like health and fitness applications, but also to governments by bringing a more holistic traffic management software, for example.
Hello, hi, Karim. Thanks for your presentation. It was really inspiring, especially since you come out of Cairo. I was just there, well, I guess 7 months ago. Tell me, what are 3 things you need to be true before you can move into a new city? So that helps us to start to think through what percentage of cities or countries you're actually able to scale to.
We have a global coverage. So using satellites, using atmospheric models and the existing data points, I can give you information for every single point in the city. The additional hardware is for premium use cases where basically you need to manage things on a micro scale. And we have like, for example, Cologne, what I showed, the city was never involved. So I can roll out the sensors whenever I want. They are in advertising boards, they're in light poles, so we have in 25 cities, we covered within 18 months. And the main resource that limiting us is basically how fast can we roll out the sensors. But like I said, it's not about rolling out the hardware. The Northern Ireland project, the health project, we did not have a single Hawadawa air quality sensor, but you leverage the data that the city uses, use intelligent algorithm to cross it with health prescription data, medical prescription data. So again, this is the input varies from the left side. It's just a matter what the city needs on the right side of the product.
Do you have any other questions from DJ or Marta? No. Marta? Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Karim, just wanted to ask you, in my country, for example, and I'm in the moment in Macedonia, we have many, let's say, dilemmas. Where is this pollution coming from, especially during the winter? So there is a lot of polemics, and whether it is from the heating, because some of the citizens use, let's say, the traditional form of heating, wood and carbon and so on and so on, or is it the pollution that is caused by cars, etc. Can you differentiate which is the source of solutions, so the government can then create policies that will address, I don't know, encourage them not to use that kind of heating by some incentives or similar things?
Exactly, this is why we built the platform, because basically I can show you that February 2019, we had the highest air pollution in Germany. Individual cities didn't know that first, that it's across Germany, but we checked the data and it was a climatic condition, it wasn't traffic. So using our data, it's a very easy output. I wish I could have more time to show you the dashboard, but basically you see the air quality information, you see the weather information, you see the traffic, and you see the wind direction, wind speed. So you know exactly what you're monitoring and why you're monitoring it. And if you take it on a global scale using the satellite data, we even cross regions. Like we can show you how a lot of the air pollution actually caused in Europe is deposited in the Egyptian airspace, actually, because of atmospheric conditions. So to finally bring some clarity in this complex issue of, I don't want to monitor because I'm afraid if I monitor, I see a hotspot. Well, we tell you, don't worry about it. It's about just, because if you know the hotspot, you might be afraid you don't have any action against it. But with our software, you can apply the 3 maxims: avoid, shift, or improve, because you know what is the source of air pollution.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're good. Oh, we have Jijin, do you want to ask a question?
Not a question, but just a follow-up comment.
Please.
I initially had a comment similar to Marta, and now I just follow up, and I want to highlight how important it is to identify the source in my home country, which is China, which is manufacturing most things for the world, which also includes pharmaceutical ingredient. And then we all know China is cracking down on air pollution, but also generate a huge humanitarian crisis which a lot of unpatented drugs that are produced with the active pharmaceutical ingredient are only produced in China, and some are only produced in India. But the factory were shut down because of generic policy changes to combat climate change. I think with your technology will be really helpful to lobby the government to keep some industry open for humanitarian resources, and also for the sources is not really from there. So not really a question, but just comments. Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks, Jijin. And I think there's some really interesting comments, and we can try to make this kind of connections right after the session. I mean, for governments who are interested in such a solution. Karim, maybe there's one quick question I can see on the Q&A from one of the attendees, from Mark, I think, from the attendees, and saying there seemed to be a potential scale of air pollution mapping with smart electric grids, factories to optimize generation and production to limit pollution. So what mitigation measures of creation of air pollution is Hawadawa considering in scaling up for mainstream and accelerating the SDGs?
It's a very tough question because you have to go in the individual SDGs. But the main philosophy that we're using behind Hawadawa is basically, it's not just about the monitoring of air pollution. If you have 2 factories and having identical emissions, you want to reward the factory that has a higher efficiency than the other one, the higher production input, output, volume output. So it's not just a matter of actually penalizing what you're monitoring, but actually rewarding efficiency. So there's an additional layer to be added there. And most of the time, every government, every city has an idea of what they want to implement, but they lack the optimization potential because they say you have a driving ban. But we can tell you actually, well, it's not about that. It's about Thursday morning between 6 and 9 a.m. Instead of making a 50 kilometers per hour, make it 30, and you achieve the same output as if you have a continuous driving ban for these class of cars. So it's about this type of mitigation measures, and it's going to increase in importance, first of all, because the standardization needs to be done in that element and how to monetize how to monitor the SDGs, but also because air pollution and climate change are increasingly being linked. So whatever you do on the air pollution side needs to have sort of a connection to the climate action as a goal. So again, the measures that we implement is the idea of avoid, shift, or improving, and whatever you choose as avoid, shift, or improve policy, we help you optimize it from an ecological perspective.
Yeah, got it. Okay, and if you have any other, I mean, if you want to have more elaboration on that, feel free to text it on the Q&A. Thanks again, Karim.
Thank you.
Great. And we'll move forward, I think, with our next one, which is Bowie by Go to Digital. So can you please enable your video and mic, please? Danielle? Yes.
Thank you very much, Hamed.
How are you? It was good. Thanks for being with us today. So, Danielle, you're connecting from which city?
Barcelona.
Barcelona. Okay, so it's a good time zone. Not very early, not very late. So that's good.
Really sunny. Really sunny. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Daniel Martinez, and I am partner co-founder of Go to Digital. And I'm going to explain you a solution so that any country in the world can reduce the current loss of drinking water that is lost in the transport from the point where the water is produced to that reaches the homes of citizens, as well as reducing the management costs so that the citizens do not find it increasingly difficult and costly to consume the water resource. So bear in mind how much drinking water is lost in the world. The drinking water transport networks in all the countries of the world lose more than 40% of the water that they transport due to the leaks, the fraud, the breaks, and reading errors in the meters. So this is a tremendous problem for the governments. So we are fully convinced that the AI can help us with these serious problems that we all have. And at GoTo Digital, we have opted to use a totally disruptive and creative strategy using simulation and deep reinforcement learning discipline to solve this challenge. Today, the deep reinforcement learning has made advances in many fields, such as the health, the medical research, investigations, and energy efficiency. And we have companies that everybody knows, like Google or DeepMind, with the really improvements in lung cancer, on prostate cancer, in issues like energy efficiency in data centers, and in other medical researches. So for us, the solution from Bori platform is to offer a super bot trained in simulators with deep reinforcement learning. So the striking point with this discipline is that, with this solution, is that we have, without having data or a previous experience on a drinking water network, we are able to solve the challenges of water transport, gaining experience through computing, and creating new strategies with the superbots better than the human beings that are actually taking to solving the serious problems that we have in the water transport. The superbot in our Bori platform are trained for operations and disasters management. So the solution with Bori based on superbots, it's like, it does not seem fair for us that access to a technology that protects common and universal goods such as is the water can only be consumed by those who have the resources to generate it. Because the water is it's not a commodity, the water is essential for life. So we believe that it's more fair to make available to the governments and their citizens a technology that democratize its use and provide solutions to all to reduce the cost and the operational cost. So we are creating autonomous and digital operators that we call superbots, which democratize the advanced knowledge in the management of operations and in disasters of drinking water networks, so that any country we want that had access and can share that global knowledge generated by Bori through the neural network. So basically, the challenge that we want to solve are pretty straightforward. We want to reduce the non-revenue water index that actually is an average of the 40% in the world. We have a moral imperative, we know, and we think that today to reduce that rate, reducing the leaks with the proper detection and location. We want to reduce the leaks, optimizing the pressure based on demand and service quality. We need to manage the leaks, prioritizing actions based on the potential impact. And we need to reduce the extraction of the raw water by labeling the production with the actual and real demand. We need to reduce the energy cost at the footprint caused by the operations. And we want to reduce the chemical consumption in the water quality. This is a real challenging objective that we want to solve with Bori. From a technical perspective and from a scalability point of view, Bori is a solution that integrates and it's implemented with the current SCADA systems of our customers.
Daniel, I'm sorry, I have to stop you here. It's time's up. So yeah. I think you might have more chance to elaborate more in the Q&A. Yeah. I'm sure, I mean, lots of relevant questions would come and you can explain this during that. So do we have any questions coming from our experts? Okay, I see Alex as well. Okay. And Bruce, so maybe Alex, would you like to go ahead first, and then Bruce would follow right away?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I did see Bruce's image come on earlier, but that is fine. Thank you very much, Daniel, for calling and presenting this huge solution to us.
Thank you.
I have heard a lot about, what have been the reason why we will fight by the 2050s. It's a huge incoming problem. But even in your own words, if you can maybe paint why it's immediate, why we have to solve that problem now, and then tell me a bit about, who your potential customers are, who are the biggest ones.
Yeah, actually, the big potential in terms of business, obviously, is the water industry. The point here and the debate is a moral debate. It's who has to have the power, the solution, and the technical resources to solve a problem that concerns to everybody, and especially to the government and to the citizens. So that's the point that we have in that debate of thinking, is an internal thinking about why do we try to democratize that technology that could be able for all the countries, for all the governments, with an intelligence that will be clever, even better, with all the data of the different water networks, and try to extend that capabilities and that benefits to all the governments, and not to keep that technology as a private resource in the hands of the private water industries. So, as this is a real big problem all over the world, we think that the measures that must be taken concerns to the governments, and not only to the private industry, and especially not only in the first world. And there are many different countries that don't have the technology, the resources, of the knowledge to apply the benefits and the potential of applying a platform such as Bori with artificial intelligence. We have the resources now, so everybody can take benefit of it.
Hi, Daniel. I was wondering, what's the biggest barrier you have to get people to use your technology and to get the customers onboarded with this solution?
Well, the main constraint, the main problem that we have is that it's very difficult to find actually early followers, especially in the water industry. When we are talking about deep reinforcement learning discipline, it's a very different perspective from speaking from another disciplines that everybody is actually using. It takes time. It's difficult to demonstrate at the beginning the benefits because it's a really close environment in the operational field with water engineers. And in our case, the best solution and the best way has been to perform proof of concepts and initial tests with some models with specific and small water networks to demonstrate to the customer that this is a reality, that this is something that can be applied to the utility sector, in this case to the water. And yes, when they test the benefits and see the percentage of cost reduction on energy efficiency, on how we are able to detect leaks, it's pretty much easy. But we need to start to think that utility sector are very old, and it requires a really strong digitalization process, and it takes time. Yeah.
Thanks, Daniel. Marta, you have a question or comment? Please go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, maybe I wasn't following at the beginning. I don't know if you mentioned when have you started your venture, and how many people do you have in your team, and something about your customers? How big is your customer base?
Yeah, thank you, Marta, because that was the end of my presentation. Actually, we are 18 people. We are really not much people with 3 co-founders. Our people, it's in Barcelona, but also in Medellin, Colombia. It's performed by data scientists and people from different technologies. We started 3 years ago, but we start our internal research and development process with the deep reinforcement learning 1.5 years with our internal tests in our laboratory. And after that, we opened the door and start to speak with customers on the water industry, especially here in Spain and France with Sweat Group and with its subsidiaries in Latin countries. When we start to perform now in real production environments, proof of concepts to demonstrate the capability and the advantages of using this technology based on deep reinforced learning with the simulators, that it's what we actually are listening every places when we talk about digital twin.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much, Daniel. And I think there's 2 questions just asking about the links for your company and links for your startup in the Q&A. So if you please we'll take this on and answer them. So thanks again. And we're going to be moving forward with our 4th startup today, Warden Machinery. And I think they're from Russia, but also you have an office in Luxembourg. So I'm not sure from where you talking to us today, which city?
Hello. Currently, actually, I'm talking from the middle of Siberia, given that I'm on a business trip here.
Okay, great. Mike, you're a bit, the light is a bit dark. I don't know why, but you can...
Given that it's pretty close to midnight, I would say. Currently, yeah, I'm sorry for that. I don't believe I can do much about the lighting.
Well, you'd be sharing your presentations anyway, so please put the slides on, and I think it will take most of the screen. And yeah, you have the 4 minutes. Please take them away.
Dil, can you see the slides correctly?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Kiruhin, leader of the project Warden Machinery. We specialize in serial research and development of novel machine vision-based solutions. And I'm here to discuss with you our novel product, a computer vision-based waste management system already validated by the government of Moscow. With this product, we aim to help reach all the sustainable development goals concerning prudent consumption and prevention of waste leakage into the world's ocean. It's common knowledge that each year, estimated 8 million tons of plastic waste enter the world's ocean, which are equivalent to 5 full trash bags along every inch of coastline worldwide. And 60% of this plastic waste result from mismanaged waste systems from 5 Asian nations that suffer from inadequate, often fragmented and reliant on informal economy, municipal waste collection and management systems that lack visibility and transparency and lead to efficient inability to track, monitor, forecast material flows, under lack of data in understanding of waste generation patterns and management dynamics, and in some inability to in any way reduce ocean leakage, which we tackle. What we do is the following. We employ data input in the form of photos or videos, including those taken by regular cameras mounted on civil drones, and upload the data into our SaaS platform, which provides automated analysis, neural network-based waste detection and classification, putting the heap on the map. For sure, via photogrammetric instruments, we estimate the value and track the changes to the previous state of the landfill, of the waste heap, which enables us with the following actions. First of all, we can monitor the leakage points and understand the plastic flows. We can involve public and crowdsource the data collection, which is always good. Given that we provide adequate and accurate data, we can optimize handling and recycling and employ legal procedures, including automated issuing of ecology-related fines. Now, how we do it? Basically, we build area depth maps from, for instance, order photo plans or area coverage maps taken by drones. First, we detect waste heaps, we segment it and classify the contents and estimate the area and volume occupied by the illegal waste heap. for instance, like in this case. In certain cases, we can track the origins of the waste down to a specific enterprise and monitor the collection dynamics on the territory of the enterprise itself. We classify household waste separately from industrial waste and separately from construction debris. It's good that we measure something, but to validate that we measure something correctly, we had to test our solution on various objects that we can validate manually, and the margin is currently below 40 centimeter from a 73-meter high drone flight. We launched in February, and today we are actually launching this product in Indonesia, given that Indonesia has pledged to reduce plastic debris by stunning 70% in the upcoming 5 years, together with 2 NGOs, the Incubation Network and Second Muse, that are aimed at building circular economy. Our strategic partners can validate everything that I said. 2 global technological leaders and Big 4 consultants have joined us. The big question is, will you? Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark. And again, just a few seconds over time, but that's okay. So time now for some questions. Any questions from our experts?
Please fire away.
Yes, maybe you're super clear, so you don't need any questions for now. But yeah, we have Jijen coming up.
Thank you so much. I have a question on, do you, in terms of your customer base, I would imagine, but correct me if I'm wrong, you would expect that the main source of clients will be national governments or NGOs.
Basically, for sure, it's municipal governments or national governments, for sure, given that garbage treatment is currently an acute political topic. And as you can see in several regions, for instance, creating large-scale illegal landfills has already brought the situation to certain political unease. For instance, in Russia, 2 heads of regions have been changed through bottom-to-up action by local activists.
Okay. I have a question actually to you. I got it in the Q&A. So if we don't have another clarifying question from the experts, maybe I would ask it. So we have a question here saying, how do you scale up the solution to cover megacities and that are most polluting? Can you also use satellite or drone only?
We can use any data source, any optical image coming from CCTV cameras, for instance, from cameras mounted on municipal trucks. That's also a use case, an actual use case, and civil drones as well. Basically, you just need to state the type of the data source during uploading to the platform itself, the precious data, and the backend will do the job.
Do the job, okay.
We are currently testing several. Sorry?
No, please go ahead.
We're currently testing numerous types of data feed from various geographies. And given that, for instance, Indonesia is a large country, Russia is a large country with very diverse conditions, and so far everything seems to be just right.
Well, actually, there's 2 questions for you in the Q&A. So I think I'll leave you. You can answer these, but maybe I'll choose one of them. So one is saying, how could this solution be combined with autonomous ocean vehicles and other frontier technologies such as blockchain to map the ocean garbage patches and have bounties to collect and clean the oceans in furtherance of the Sustainable Development Goals, with particular attention to SDG 14?
Beyond doubt, unmanned marine vehicles are just another data source for us. And if the author of the question is open to collaboration, so are we, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So I think there's one more question, so you can take this one by texting. And I think we're going to be, oh, Alex, you're here. One more,
Yeah,
please,
yes.
go ahead.
I'd love to answer one. It's a great presentation. Thank you very much, Mitch. Which of your stakeholders is going to take the most action because of what you've built now, right? Is it NGOs who are going to now know where to go and clean up, or is it governments who will now know what companies to ask to change their behaviors? And let us know, has any change happened so far based on your...
Thank you kindly for the question. So far, we have actually seen change in the operations of the municipal regulator. Basically, the government has managed to reduce budget spending on certain waste-related fraudulent scenarios, and we have managed to cut the expenses by 3 times. And the NGOs have also proven that they, with this solution of ours, they have obtained a particularly accurate and objective tool to press the local governments to tend to certain ecological, I would say honestly, disasters, given that certain landfills are totally disastrous. So I cannot choose which one is providing more impact, but the government is paying. So as a businessman, for sure, for me, I would say the more impact is in seeing the ways the governing agency manages to change its own operations and provide a financial inflow for me.
Marta, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wonder, what is your business model? Because, you know, the monitoring should be constant, not just once. And what is in your offering? Can you explain a little bit? What do you offer? Do you have your own fleet of drones, for example? I'm just curious. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. That's actually the point, that we are a software provider. We don't need to bring, for instance, we don't need to bring our fleet of drones to a certain location. We can collaborate with the ones who hold the fleet and adapt our solution to their hardware opportunities, to their hardware capabilities. And therefore, for instance, in our cases, all the people that operate in the field have access to their own drones.
Yeah, but the monitoring, thank you for the answer, but the monitoring, as far as I understand, have to be constant. It's not, let's say, a one-time scan. How do you provide that? Thank you.
Thank you so much. We work as a software as a service model in this particular case, and the service can be provided as often as you are ready to, for instance, you are ready to fly your drone, to get an employee or a separate department who I believe own a drone or a series of drones already, and put them to good use.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mitch.
There's the time for one more question.
Yeah, but it has to be a very quick one and a very quick answer as well. Okay. So please.
How much your result is rely on drone video and imageries, knowing in our experience using drone to deliver, we mostly avoided urban setting, and even in rural setting, I know you're a software provider, but I wanted to understand the how much you rely on that, because deploy drone in, which I understand probably more in the urban, that's where you will find a lot of trash, really requires a lot of software skill to be able to maneuver the complicated landscape. And we look at the globally, the aviation law for drone is very diverse, but a lot of countries has restricted use of drone to be only within eyes of sight. So it can be quite restricted. So just trying to understand how much you rely on drone imageries.
Honestly, not much. Speaking of large areas that we need to cover, for sure, drones the only answer, especially in the suburbs or the rural areas where all the illegal dumping of waste usually takes place, or where the enterprises, the manufacturing enterprises, are localized. However, if we're talking about the urban setting, for sure we can employ CCTV infrastructure of the municipality, or just use the video registrators based on municipal trucks, for instance. You can also always rely on the local people who can go around with their smartphones and provide the data that is gonna press the waste handling services to take appropriate action in due time.
Thanks very much, Mitch. And I think we have the time now for our last, but definitely not least, startup. So if Ayla Tech is ready, Samah, are you here? Yes, we can see you. We can hear you. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Can you please share your slides?
So,
yes, looks very well. So please, you have your 4 minutes. Please go ahead when you're ready.
okay. 1 in 5 patients. 1 in 5 patients mentions the language barrier as an obstacle to access healthcare, according to the French National Authority for Health. Hi everyone, my name is Sama Galusi, and I am a data scientist specialized in natural.
I think Samah got disconnected somehow for the last startup. So maybe I'll give her some time to reconnect, and just would like to remind everyone that the call for our startups, is still open on our website. So that if you would like to be on our live pitching sessions, please apply. And as I told you, this is just an evaluation process to try to select the top startups to have them on the grand finale later this year of the AI for Good Summit and presented as outcomes of the AI for Good Innovation Factory. And maybe I'll also will try to use this time, and I can see also the startups application link is being shared on the chat. So please, you can click there and apply if you have a startup that works using AI to achieve sustainable development goals. I also would like to remind our judges today and experts to make sure that they fill all the scorecards for the previous 4 startups. We have 1 more to go. So please make sure that you have the scores. I think